Part 47. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 463. Take a step forward in Nangxiang. Bypassing the bustling Shimokitazawa commercial street. According to memory. When I was in Nango, I found that small park in a residential area of Shimokitazawa. This is probably an ordinary residence park. Most of the equipment inside has developed dark red rust. The blocking pole that prevents vehicles from entering has also lost its protective layer on the surface, exposing the rusty iron sheet underneath. Slides, climbing poles, horizontal bars. Bits and pieces of equipment are distributed in residence parks. In this piece of park equipment that looks very old, a girl with yellow hair and a scarlet butterfly tie on her chest was sitting on the wooden board of the swing. When Nangxiang saw the girl, he felt slightly reassured, and then he took steps towards her. Squeak. This is the sound of metal rubbing against the swing chain. Startled by the sound, Ijishi Hongxia, who was originally immersed in thoughts, subconsciously raised his head. Then she saw Nangxiangshi sitting on the swing next to her. Toki-kun. Nangxiangshi's sudden appearance surprised Yuji Hongxia. You know, the small residential park she is in is a place that even her sister doesn't know much about. Every time she was in a bad mood or wanted to relax, she would come to this place alone. How did you find yourself in Nangxiang? She was slightly surprised. Then he heard the voice of Nangxiang in front of him. Hongxia, before I talk about other things, I want to tell you one thing first. Your sister and I are actually. I know, that's probably just a misunderstanding, right? Yuji Hongxia took the initiative to interrupt Nangxiang's words before he could finish his words. She's not a fool. As someone who knows Nangxiangshi and his sister Ichi Hoshige very well, of course she understood that the relationship between Nangxiangshi and her sister could not be the one she had seen before. I just ran away subconsciously. It was entirely because of the sudden scene that he saw that caused his brain to shut down. Now just calm down a little bit. Yuji Hongxia then thought that what she had seen before was probably a simple misunderstanding. Yuji Hongxia's words made Nangxiangshi relax a little. It seemed that the things he had worried about before were completely unnecessary. Yuji Hongxia is still very smart. He simply sat down completely and then took another look at the residence park. Speaking of which, Hongxia, how did you find a place like this? Nangxiang was a little curious. If he didn't have the memory in the simulation, it would be impossible to find this place. Because this small park is extremely secluded, located in a residential area with intricate paths. And this place is also some distance away from the stars. There are 2 thoroughfares, and you have to walk a few steps to get here. Logically speaking, Ijishi Hongxia, who usually only follows the 3.1 line pattern of home, school, and stars, would never know about this extremely hidden park. Yidinu Hongxia. The girl's fiery red eyes swept over Nangxiang. Then he looked at his surroundings. Then he explained softly. My mother has taken me to this place several times. Probably thinking of something, she continued speaking with a distant look. At that time, my sister had been obsessed with rock performances and stayed up at night for many hours a month. For this reason, my mother would always go to the performance hall to find her. It was at that time that my mother and I discovered this place. This is a little secret between Yuji Hongxia and her mother. Feel sorry. Suddenly the atmosphere became heavy, and Nangxiangshi apologized. By this time, only then did he understand the reason why Yuji Hongxia would come here often. It turns out that this park carries part of her memories with her mother. And Yuji Hongxia's mother had passed away 10 years ago. Shijun, there is no need to apologize. The one who needs to apologize is actually me. Ijishi Hongxia held the iron chain of the swing, her white hands creating a strong contrast with the dark red iron chain. It also highlights the beauty of the girl. Her voice was full of apologies. I should have thought a long time ago that your relationship with your sister is not that kind of relationship at all, but you suddenly lost your temper and ran out. Nothing. Nang Xiangxi waved his hand. He didn't care about such trivial matters at all. Even Itakazinga probably wouldn't care at all. To be honest. This is actually nothing at all. It was just a simple misunderstanding. The two looked at each other. Then he continued to stay on the swing. Silence. The silence continued. Probably because they talked about Ichiki's mother, they were supposed to be relatively talkative. It was rare that there was no communication with each other this time. After a while, Nang Xiangxi felt that remaining silent like this was not an option, so he took the initiative to start chatting. Speaking of which, Hongxia, you probably couldn't imagine what your sister wanted to ask me just now. Elder sister. Itaki Hongxia seemed to be interested. The head turned around. The golden side ponytail also beat slightly under this movement. Probably because you are not here today. Nang Xiangxi blinked at Yijizi Hongxia. She asked me what is my relationship with you, Hongxia, and whether I like you or not. Well. Nang Xiang's teasing was still as straight as ever. Yijizi Hongxia's warm and cheerful pretty face suddenly had a blush. If she were normal, she would probably be completely speechless at this moment. But it's probably because I just experienced some stimulation today. Or maybe he was alone in the park with Nang Xiang. Although she was still a little embarrassed, she moved slightly closer and took the initiative to attack. Then, how did Shijun answer sister? This development is completely different from what Nang Xiang imagined. If Ichiki Hongxia was a normal person, he would not continue to speak at this moment, but should remain silent. Why is the opponent suddenly so aggressive today? Nang Xiang was a little confused. Although he knew Yiji Hongxia. But this does not mean that he can always grasp the girl's moods that are as changeable as the summer weather. Think of this. Nang Xiangxi didn't hesitate and spoke honestly, I didn't answer your sister. This topic should naturally end here. But the next development was completely beyond Nang Xiangxi's expectations. Is that so? Itaki Hongxia made a sound. Then when she looked at Nang Xiang, she spoke slowly. Actually, no matter what Shijun thinks, I actually like Shijun. A crisp sound fell. At the same time, the girl's fiery red eyes danced with the girl's unshakable affection. This sudden development caught Nang Xiangxi a little unexpectedly. Because today's Ijishi Hongxia was too aggressive. He was jokingly trying to break the silence a second ago. As a result, the next second Yujizi Hongxia actually took the initiative to confess her love. The other party is not usually like this. Nang Xiang was a little surprised. But he soon thought that this might be the original character of this cheerful and generous blonde girl. Nango thought about what happened to him during the happy ending simulation of Goto Ichiroku. During that simulation, the 4 people who ended the band all took a liking to him. But due to the constraints of each other's personalities, no one took the initiative to confess to him. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 464. And that was that time. It was also Itaki Hongxia who was the first to stand up and break the deadlock. She was the first person to confess her feelings to Nang Xiang in the simulation. He was also the first person to be rejected by Nang Xiangxi. Although it was because it was Goto Kazuri's simulation at the time, Nang Xiang chose to reject the other party. But in terms of the courage to express his love, Yujizi Hongxia deserves to be the first. At this time, Itaki Hongxia had obviously entered a state similar to the one confessing to herself in the simulation. When she looked at Nang Xiang, she had no intention of retreating. The blush that originally appeared due to shyness has now disappeared without a trace. She slowly approached, and at this time, she was able to turn around and look at Nang Xiang. Shijun, Do you want to know when I started to have a crush on you? When did you develop a crush on him? Once this question was raised, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but glance at Yi Dezhi Hongxia. This question is really not easy to answer. Is it because Nang Xiangxi has been giving the finishing band all night long tutoring sessions for exams? Or was it because he helped end the band's participation in the 10th Generation Youth Music Festival? Or is it because the girl has memory fragments from the simulation? The answers to the questions vary. Rao was from Nang Xiang and couldn't pick one out for a while. He was probably aware of Nang Xiangxi's various thoughts. The blonde girl did not continue to show off. She stood up from the swing, put her hands behind her back, raised her head and looked at the pale winter sky, and slowly spoke. "Shi-kun, do you still remember what you said to me a long time ago, when we first met?" "Long, long ago? When did you first meet Yuji's Hai Hongxia? Wasn't that more than half a year ago?" Nang Xiang frowned slightly. Because he really didn't expect that Yiji Hongxia had developed a crush on him more than half a year ago. After all, he had just met each other at that time. There should be nothing you can do to make the other person grateful. He thought so. Then I heard Yiji Hongxia's crisp reply. At that time, didn't Shijun say that he was a psychic? Could he see his mother? Hearing this answer, Nang Xiangxi suddenly realized. He remembered. At that time, he had just gone to the stars. Because she wanted to use the universal cure to cure Miss Yamada's father's lung disease, she once lied and said that she was a psychic. As a result, after Miss Yamada left, she told sisters Ichi Hoshige and Ichi Hongxia about the incident. After that, the two sisters Xinga and Hongxia took the initiative to find him and consulted him about their mother. I remember it clearly when I was in Nangxiang. Because I don't want to disappoint the two people who have high hopes. So Nang Xiangxi lied to the two of them in a serious manner. Because I had just finished the simulation at that time, and I knew everything about Yuji Hongxia and Yuji Xinga. Even if you lie, it's basically watertight. It made Yuji Xinga and Yuji Hongxia completely believe it at that time. However, I actually thought about it a lot after that. Yuji Hongxia turned her head and showed a bright smile when facing Nang Xiang. For example, Shijun might be lying. Maybe he just knew about me, my sister, and my mother in some way. He just told that lie because he simply didn't want to disappoint me and my sister. Yuji knew that Hongxia was not a fool. It's not as easy to fool him as Kazuri Goto or Ryo Yamada. After consulting Nan Xiang, she actually had some doubts. Maybe Nang Xiangxi just didn't want to disappoint the two sisters. That's why I told those lies. And you came into contact with Nang Xiang. Yuji Hongxia then confirmed this matter. Nang Xiangxi probably lied to her and his sister. Because so much time has passed. She has never seen the so-called spiritual medium ability in Nang Xiang again. Feel sorry. Nang Xiangxi apologized. Lying is not what he wants. But he did deceive two people. There is absolutely no problem in apologizing at this time. But what Nang Xiang didn't expect was. The yellow-haired girl in front of him listened to his apology and just smiled and shook her head. It's actually my sister and I who should really apologize. It's my sister and I's fault that Shijun had to say something against his will. Shijun just said what we wanted to hear. His fiery red eyes looked at Nang Xiang apologetically. In fact, she had always known the nature of the young man in front of her. Nang Xiangxi didn't like to lie, let alone do things that went against his true intentions. But for her and her sister. For the first time, this man did something he absolutely didn't want to do. A crisp sound sounded slowly. Then, at that time, I actually already felt that way. The fingers of the palm are interlocked with those of Nang Xiangxi. The blonde girl raised her head. Shijun is such a gentle person. Eyes lowered. It was at that time, I actually had already fallen in love with Mr. Shi. She didn't finish her sentence. But the meaning in the sound has been revealed. Yes. Itaka knew that the fundamental reason why Hongxia fell in love with Nangxiang was not because he had always helped end the band tutoring. Nor was it Nangxiang Shi who gave the band the opportunity to participate in the 10th Generation Youth Music Festival. But a long time ago, Nangxiang Shi used a white lie to soothe the restless hearts of her and her sister. Just for this reason. That's enough. Chapter 312. I'll use it tonight. 4,000 words. Yuji knew that Hongxia had expressed her feelings. Nangxiang Shi was not the only one who was attacked by girls and stagnated on his own. He no longer hesitated, and after bringing Ichi Hunka back to stars, he expressed his feelings to the blonde girl's sister, Ichi Hoshige. He and Yuji's Hai Hongxia have already had an inseparable relationship. It is no exaggeration to say that they like each other. Similarly, he did not hide anything and told Yazi Zinga that he wanted to take Yuji Hongxia to his hometown to celebrate the new year. Want to take Hongxia to your hometown in Akita to celebrate the new year? Yazi Zinga looked at Nan Xiang in surprise. She really didn't expect that Nan Xiang's attitude would change so much after just going out to look for Yazi Hongxia for more than an hour. Yazi Zinga was a little surprised. But when he saw the movement of Yuji's Hai Hongxia's palm when he took the initiative to grab Nangxiang, she showed a look of understanding again. Oh my, this is really. Ms. Pa, who had just come to work, heard such breaking news before she even sat down in Rihu. That mature and elegant face couldn't help but reveal a funny expression. Mainly, what did she just hear? In Nangxiang, I want to take Yuji Hongxia to the countryside to celebrate the new year? Isn't this equivalent to taking away Yuji Xing's sister from her? As Miss Pa, who has worked with Ichi Xing for 7 or 8 years, she naturally knows what kind of girl control the other party is. Take Yuji Shi Hongxia away? This is impossible just by thinking about it. Miss Pa thought so and was planning to persuade Nangxiang. Ken. The sound has not yet been made. He was interrupted by Ichi Hoshige's slight nod. Why? Obviously, he didn't expect Yuji Xing's answer. The words Miss Pa originally wanted to say were completely stuck in her throat at this time. She looked at Yuji Xing in disbelief. This isn't right. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 465. This sister controls her sister. This Adizi Zinga would be a little worried even if he just couldn't see Adizi Hongxia for half a day. She actually agreed to Nangxiang Shi's request to take her sister away. Unbelievable. It's incredible. Elder sister. Obviously, Yuji Hongxia didn't expect that things would go so smoothly. You must know that although Yuji Xing doesn't have any control over her on the surface, in fact, the other party is paying attention to her situation all the time. When I was in junior high school, I had to stay overnight at the home of a female classmate. She almost got into a fight with Yuji Zinga. I originally thought the process would be repeated this time. Unexpectedly, the other party nodded in agreement without hesitation. This is really. The blonde girl was speechless for a while. But Nangxiang Shi next to her spoke, "Thank you, Sister Zinga." Yuji Zinga. Listening to the very smooth name of Sister Zinga in Nangxiang, Yuji Zinga couldn't help but glare at the guy climbing up the pole. Before, I was still a store manager. Once you get the consent, you become Sister Xing, right? Yuji Zinga was speechless for a while regarding this black-haired young man who had trouble with Zinga's sister and had nothing to do with being the store manager. But she still did not forget to add. Nangxiang, there is something I still want to say. It's just that I'm a little worried if you and Hongxia go there, so I want to go to Akita together. The voice paused, and then continued. But don't worry, I'll just treat it as a trip to Akita and won't hinder you and Hongxia. I understand. Yi Jizinga's request is reasonable. After all, the other party is Ichiki Hongxia's legal guardian. It is normal for Hongxia to be worried about following him to Akita alone. Nang Xiangxi naturally nodded in agreement. It was at this time that Miss Pa, who had been silent until now, suddenly came over with interest. Hey, is the store manager going to Akita for a trip? I happen to have nothing to do during the Chinese New Year, why don't you take me with you? Just treat it like giving benefits to me, an old employee. Pa. You guy. Listening to Miss Pa's voice of taking advantage of the fire, Yi Jizinga couldn't help but look at her one more time. But in the end, he still didn't say any words of rejection. After all, it was quite lonely to go to his hometown in Akita alone without any playmates of the same age as Nang Xiang. She can't really travel alone in Akita, right? With a Pa by your side, you won't have to go on a hot spring trip to Akita alone. However, the specific travel details still need to be discussed in detail. Yi Jizinga planned to discuss it with Pa when it was almost time to get off work. But it was also at this time. Hey! Senior, are you going to travel to Akita? How can you not count me out for this kind of thing? Is it possible that Senior doesn't like me anymore? A dissatisfied protracted voice sounded in his ears. At the same time, a purple-haired woman walked in carelessly. It was Hiroi Kairi. At this time, Hiroi Kairi had been abstaining from alcohol for many days, and he was eating and drinking there every day in Nangxiang. The whole person looks much healthier than before. At least looking past it now. The dark circles under my eyes and the unhealthy redness that sometimes appeared on my face from drinking too much had completely disappeared. But her carefree attitude did not change at this moment. As soon as she came in, she hugged Zizinga directly, as if she was hugging her thigh and unwilling to let go. Take me on a trip. Senior Zinga. Please. Take me on a trip. This is a request I only make once in my life. Hiroyuki, you bastard. Don't come near me. No. I won't let go. As long as I let go of the free meal ticket, no, Senior will run away. The unreliable adult group begins to fight. Taking this opportunity, Nang Xiangxi and Yi Hongxia did not dare to stay here, but left quickly. If only Hiroi Kairi noticed them. Maybe this shameless guy will change his target and ask Nang Xiang, as her host, to treat her as a meal ticket for her trip. Although Nang Xiang did not lack this little money. But Hiroi Kairi is a type of person who has one thing and another. To prevent it from becoming her long-term meal ticket. Of course Nang Xiangxi chose to flee the scene directly, leaving Yi Jizinga troubled. After temporarily leaving Ijizinga, Nang Xiangxi and Ijishi Hongxia came to his room and discussed the specific matters of going to Akita's hometown. And this discussion, with some casual chatting added in the middle, took a long time. Wait until Ichiki Hongxia leaves the room. Nang Xiangxi took out his cell phone and took a look. It's past 10 o'clock. Have to say. Men and women in love always have countless topics to talk about. This was the case when I learned about Hongxia when I was in Nangxiang. From the beginning, they went to their hometown in Akita Prefecture to discuss the specific meeting time and place, and then talked about what summer activities there were in their hometown in Nangxiang, and what souvenirs would be appropriate to bring when they met. Talked about a lot of miscellaneous topics. In the end, it was postponed until now. Ijishi Hongxia, who was worried that it would affect Nangxiang's sleep, reluctantly left. Certainly. The results are not without results. The heart of love. Nang Xiangxi raised his head and opened the simulation page. I can only see it at the bottom of the light blue page. The one line of handwriting that appeared was extremely conspicuous. System prompts, the host has collected the girl's love heart, dedication. Dedication. Looking at the attributes of the heart of love this time, Nang Xiangxi nodded gently. This is more suitable for Ijishi Hongxia's love heart attribute. You know, as the leader of the ending band, Hijika Ijishi, is known as the Archangel of Shimokitazawa in the anime. In the animation comment area, there are all sorts of outrageous comments calling the blonde girl Hongxia's mother. Empathetic and gentle. Dedication and humility. This is undoubtedly the most perfect word to describe Yuji's Hai Hongxia. So, what should we do next? When Nangxiang closes the simulation page, Hongxia has also agreed to go to Akita County with him. Then cross out her name for now. There are only 4 candidates who have not yet collected the girl's love heart props. Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina's Riko Riko combination. And the pink hair combination of Kazuri Goto and Satu Matsuzaka. To be honest, among these 4 people, Nangashi is actually more inclined to target Nishiki Chisuke and Inu Takina. After all, they have always been inseparable. Wherever there are thousands of Nishikiji, there must be Inu Takina. As long as Nishiki Kishu can be persuaded, Inu Takina will definitely go to Akita with Nishiki Kishu. Think so? Nangxiang slowly picked up his cell phone and wanted to contact Nishiki Kishu and Inu Takina. But before Nangxiang could find the names of Kishu and Takina in the line, the phone call interface suddenly popped up. The cell phone call page that suddenly popped up caught Nangxiang's attention. But what surprised him was, the caller does not have any notes, just a contact person consisting of a simple phone number. This explains it. The person who called him at this time was not the girl or his family. This made Nangxiang a little strange. After all, it's past 10 o'clock now. Anyone who is okay will call him at this time. He thought for a moment, then reached out and answered the phone. Hello. Make a sound and then wait for the other party's response. Then. It's brother Shi. It's really brother Shi. A childish voice came from the other end of the phone. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Uda Wei. Chapter 466. The innocent and soft voice of a child. A term of endearment for Nangxiang. Nangxiangshi only thought for a moment before confirming the person on the other side of the phone. Is it early? Yes. In the impression, the only person who would take the initiative to call him Brother Toki was Goto Yuri, whom he met once at the Oka festival. Yeah. It's early. Goto Yuri, who was on the other end of the phone, seemed very happy that Nangxiangshi recognized him, and he hurriedly continued speaking in his childish voice. Speaking of which, when did brother Shi come to our house to play? Did you forget early? Well. Listening to Goto Yuri's voice, Nangxiangshi couldn't help but cough slightly. During this period of time, he really hadn't thought about Goto Yuri's affairs. After all, he is too busy. Not only must the emotions of each simulated object be taken care of, we also need to simulate Matsuzaka's sugar to improve the other party's symptoms of emotional deficiency. There are even final exams to prepare for. The sum of these things naturally made him dizzy and busy. Fortunately, Goto Yuri is just a child. After asking this question, she did not break the casserole and ask the truth. Instead, she took advantage of Nangxiangshi's cough and silence to start the next topic. Speaking of which, brother Shi, let me tell you secretly that my sister recently took photos of you from somewhere and printed so many of them that they almost covered the whole room. And she often smiles at brother Shi's photos and says weird things like I'll use this one tonight. Hiss. Is this going to be used tonight? No. Ms. Goto. What do you want to do with my photo? Nangxiang was stunned by the sudden revelation. On the other side of the microphone, Goto Yuri obviously wanted to continue talking. The result is not finished yet. Another panicked voice came from the other end of the phone. Early. What did you say to Ashi while I was using the bathroom? Huh? I didn't say anything, I just told you about my sister smiling stupidly at brother Shi's photo. Godu Yuri on the other end of the phone answered. You are slandering. Early. But aren't these things my sister has done? Hurry, give me the microphone. It could be heard that Godu Ichiri was in a panic right now. No, brother Shi and I didn't even say a word. A clear rejection from Yuri Godu. I'm going to be angry. Then I will tell brother Shi everything my sister has done. There was a sharp cough. Be obedient, Early, please give me the microphone quickly. Godu made a sound of pleading to his sister who was only 5 years old. There was another burst of trivial conversation. It seems that he finally reached a consensus with his sister, and Ichiri Godu gained control of the microphone. Hello, hello. This was the girl's somewhat embarrassed voice. She, Early may have said some nonsense about children just now, so please don't take it to heart. Nangxiangshi. The nonsense that a child talks? Do you mean you secretly used my photos for something? Ms. Godu? Nangxiangshi really wanted to complain about the pink-haired girl on the other side of the phone. After all, what the other party said made him feel guilty. Considering his relationship with Godu Kazuri. After hesitating for a while, Nangxiangshi still didn't complain, but directly brought the topic to the right track. Ili, what do you want to see me for so late at night? He asked. That's right. It's past 10 o'clock. He didn't know what Godu Ichiri had to say when he suddenly contacted him. Chapter 312. It's over, it's over. 4,300 words. Because of personality. Therefore, there were not many times when Godu Kazuri took the initiative to contact Nango by phone. Most of the time, the two of them talked on the line. Contact us after 10 o'clock in the evening like this. Strictly speaking, it's the first time. However, Nangxiang didn't care at all, and just listened patiently to what Godu Ichiri had to say. The reason why Ichiri Godu was looking for Nango was actually very simple. That is. She, didn't my parents agree with you before? Well, my parents actually hope that you can come to my house to play. Godu on the other end of the phone stammered, but fortunately he finished his sentence. Oh, so that's what happened. Nangxiangshi showed a look of surprise. He had been troubled by various things before, so he refused the invitation from Godu's parents to go to their home. Unexpectedly, they still remembered this incident. She, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? If you've been really busy lately, it's okay to come over next time. Maybe it's because there has been no movement in Nangxiang for too long. Godu Ichiri felt a little flustered, as if he was worried about whether there was something wrong with his wording. Fortunately, Nangxiangshi also reacted at this time and said with a smile. No, Ili, there's no problem. Don't worry, I'm free. When will it be? Oka's high school final test has just ended. He has now officially entered winter break time. In addition, Matsuzaka Sugar's matter has been resolved. Nangxiangshi really didn't have any major issues at hand that needed to be solved immediately. At this time, I still have to find excuses not to go to Godu's house. That would really be considered a bit rude to Godu's parents and elders. He replied with a smile. Godu Ichiri over there felt a little relieved after listening to his words. Then She, how about coming over to play tomorrow? She considered her words and extended the invitation. Okay, then tomorrow at noon. Nangxiangshi agreed without hesitation. In the following time, he chatted a lot with Godu Ichiri on the phone. It's probably like asking the other person how they felt about the final test and whether they made any progress. After all, if Oka High School wants to advance from the lower grade to the upper grade normally, there is a failure indicator. If you fail too many subjects, you may repeat the grade. But fortunately, tutoring worked. The overall feeling of Hoten Ili is good, and I think I won't fail the exam. The two of them continued chatting like this for a while. Wait until Ichiri Goto puts down the phone receiver. The time has come to around 10:40. She. Her skin, which was too fair because it had not been exposed to direct sunlight for a long time, was slightly flushed. The pink-haired girl looked at the phone's microphone contentedly, as if thinking of the compliment she received from Nangxiang just now. A silly smile appeared on her thin pink lips. Hey hey. She stood in front of the landline and smiled. But I haven't laughed for 2 seconds. Eli, you have really grown up. Mom is really happy. The sudden sound coming from behind made Ichiri Goto let out a surprised cry of awe. Mom, Mom, Mom. She turned her head in disbelief and looked at her mother, who had appeared behind her at some unknown time. At this time, her inner fear. Oh, I didn't expect that I would call Nangxiang-kun at around 10 o'clock and even invite him to my house. Miki Yogodu held her cheek with her right hand and showed a warm smile. You are so bold to hide this from me and Dad, Ichiri. I'm not. Goto Ichisakura's lips parted slightly and her face turned red. She obviously didn't expect that things would turn out like this. What she said to Nangxiang on the phone, my parents invited you to come over to play, was actually an excuse she made. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Zi Wei. Chapter 467. The purpose was to let Nangxiang Shi come to her house and spend a beautiful afternoon alone with her. The reason why I waited until after 10 o'clock in the evening when my parents were asleep before calling Nangxiang was because I wanted to hide it from my parents. Don't let them come and cause trouble when the time comes. You must know that whether it is his mother or his father, these two people are really too lively. If Nangxiang Shi had any bad impression due to this, then Goto couldn't even cry anymore. However, it is difficult to prevent parents from taking precautions. She had obviously waited until her parents were asleep before calling Nangxiang. Why did my mother still show up? It was early. Who came up to tell us? It seemed that he noticed the change in Goto Ichiri's mood. Miki Yogodu picked up Yuri Goto as if asking for credit. Early. Goto Ichisato let out a mournful cry. She really didn't expect it. Goto Yuri, who was driven away by her just now, actually did not go to bed honestly. Instead, he just bought the bottom and ran upstairs to tell his mother, who was already asleep, about what happened with Nangxiang. The only thing that made Goto Ichiri feel more at ease was that her father didn't get up anyway. What if I told that completely unreliable father about my visit to Nangxiang? Then she wouldn't even have a place to cry. Speaking of which, Dad is very happy to have found such an outstanding boyfriend as Nangxiang-kun. Probably what comes to mind. Goto Ichiri was thankful that the thought had only just surfaced before he was completely shattered by the sudden sound. She covered her head in pain. That's right. Mom and Dad didn't sleep in separate beds. It made no sense for the mother, Miki Yogodu, to wake up, but Naoki Goto didn't. Okay. In order to celebrate Nangxiang-kun's visit to our home tomorrow, our family will discuss the reception plan overnight. Goto Naoki is not at all calm like his father. He raised his arms directly and announced excitedly. Oh! Celebrate! Celebrate! Goto Yuri also waved his arms. Let's name tomorrow Goto Kazuri's singles anniversary. Michio Goto was smiling and making suggestions. The three of them were chatting animatedly there. Goto Kazuri, who took all this into consideration, looked ashen. It's over. It's all over. Her plan to spend a wonderful afternoon with Nangxiang Shi, was all over. In the Goto family today, there is no doubt that some are happy and some are sad. The next morning, Nangxiang woke up. He first went for a morning jog according to his usual route of action. Then, before Hiroikiri came over to eat, the daily breakfast was completely prepared. There was no other way. He had already promised Hirokairi that as long as she stopped drinking, she would let this Shumenzi come over for dinner. He can never go back on his promise. Waiting for Hirokairi to come to the door, he finished breakfast, and then politely refused Shumenzi's request to use the bathroom in his room, and then invited her out. Wait until this is all done. Nang Xiangxi picked up the novel that he had always wanted to read but had not had time to read due to various timings, so he started reading. 2 hours passed during this reading. Nang Xiangxi stretched and put down the novel. At the same time, he stood up and put the dried clothes back into the closet. Then I took a look at the time displayed on my phone and felt it should be about the same time. He then stood up, slowly put on his going out clothes, and headed towards Goto's house. The financial situation of the Goto family is actually very optimistic. They were able to buy a 3-story house in Tokyo, and Goto's parents were able to raise their 2 daughters. From this point of view, we can actually understand. The conditions of the Goto family are not too bad. According to the address given by Mikiyo Goto before, combined with memory in simulation, it didn't take long for Nang Xiang to find the Goto family. He raised his head thoughtfully and looked attentively. Subsequently, Nang Xiang breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. There was no situation like in the original plot where Goto Kazuri hung up a big white banner to welcome others to visit him. It seems that Goto's father and Goto's mother still have common sense. He felt relieved. He walked into the courtyard of Goto's house, then stretched out his hand and rang the doorbell of Goto's house. He didn't wait long. After just standing in front of the door for a few seconds, the door in front of him opened. At the same time, snapped, snapped, snapped. A flower ribbon pops out of a firecracker. It splashed all over Nan Xiang's body. At the same time, the voices of Michio Goto and Naoki Goto were. Chiang Chiang. Welcome Nang Xiang-kun to my Goto home. At the same time, there was the white banner that read, Welcome Nang Xiangxi as a guest. Nang Xiangxi. To be honest, he originally thought that only Goto Kazuri would go to such trouble to do such a thing. Should we say that like daughter, like father? Mikiyo Goto and Naoki Goto actually took the same action as Ichiri Goto. But it's okay. It was an ordinary welcome at best. Nang Xiangxi shook his head in amusement, then stretched out his hand to take off the flower belt on his body. After taking them all, he handed over the snack box at hand. Sorry, I took the liberty of coming to disturb you, but here are my thoughts. Ah, I'm so sorry that I actually let Nang Xiang-kun spend money. Goto Mikiyo's face was filled with a gentle smile, please come in quickly. Ichiri just went out and had something to do, and he should be back soon. Before that, Nango-kun, please go to her room and wait for her. Ah, okay. Nang Xiangxi nodded and just took off his shoes. On the other side, Mikiyo Goto had already given him a pair of slippers that fit his feet. Next to him, Naoki Goto was also smiling, and took advantage of the situation to put the shoes that Nan Xiang had taken off into the shoe box on one side. Aunt Mikiyo, Uncle Naoki, you don't need to be so polite. When Nan Xiang saw the situation, he couldn't help but give a reminder. Mikiyo Goto and Naoki Goto were treated as if they were receiving their own sons-in-law. It made him feel slightly weird. It's okay, Nang Xiang-kun. Goto Naoki laughed loudly, waved his hand and said, this is your first time coming to our house, it doesn't matter if it's a little more grand, well, Ili's room is upstairs. You can go up and wait for a while. Okay. Follow in the footsteps of Naoki Goto. Nang Xiangxi soon arrived in front of Goto Ichiri's room. It's almost the same as what I saw in the animation. Tatami. Floor-to-ceiling mirror and guitar stand next to the floor-to-ceiling mirror. Single bed located in the corner. There is also a wardrobe that fits the single bed. There are no pink ones, similar to Gurla decorations. The half-opened closet door contained a laptop and miscellaneous items. Simple is a bit too much. The whole room fits the gloomy and simple look of Goto Ichiri inside and outside the school. Nang Xiangxi glanced around curiously. After all, this was the first time he had seen Goto Ichiri's room in person. At the invitation of Naoki Goto, Nangashi quickly took a seat next to the small square table that Goto Ichiri often used. While waiting for Goto Ichiri's arrival, he looked at his surroundings. But Goto didn't wait. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 468. Instead, a pink girl with short hair came to the door first. As soon as she saw Nang Xiang, excitement filled her delicate and childish face. Ah! It's my good-looking brother. With almost no hesitation, the little girl moved her round calves and jumped directly into Nang Xiangxi's arms. Ah, it's early. Nang Xiangxi smiled and stroked Goto Eri's little head. Why are you here? Where is your sister? My sister said she was going outside for a while, but she didn't know what she was going to do. Goto Yuri climbed on top of Nango Toki like a tree, and then gave Nango Toki a bow in profile, and replied with a smile. That's right. Nang Xiangxi stretched out his hand and rubbed Goto Eri's head. There is no other way, then just wait here for your sister to come back. Speaking of which, huh? Halfway through his words, his eyes were caught by the corner of the closet. Ah, that thing. Futuriguz, who was lying on Nang Xiang, obviously noticed his gaze. He trotted to the corner of the closet and took out the exposed gadget with both hands. My sister bought it when she went out last time. I don't know how to use it, but from time to time I see my sister holding this thing and giggling. Nang Xiangxi glanced at the thing in Goto Eri's hand. That's a DV player. It is also known as a video recorder. Judging from the quality, it should be relatively new. There are no scratches on the surface paint. But DV player? What is Goto Ichiri doing with this thing? You know, she doesn't have any habit of recording videos. It is impossible to expect someone like her to use a DVD player just thinking about it. I was quite curious when I was in Nang Xiang. He reached out and took the machine from Goto Eri's hand, then opened it and clicked on the video material inside at will. Most of this DV player contains videos of the end of the band's performance at Stars. Looking at these videos from a perspective, it is actually not difficult to find that Ichiri Goto asked MS-PA to record their performance videos and use them for editing and creation. But Nang Xiangxi looked down. This DV player seems to have more than just the ending video of the band's performance, there seems to be other things. Nang Xiangxi's fingers slid over the keys. Finally, his eyes stopped on a certain video. That was the picture of MS Goto secretly hiding the DV player in his room, and then leaving secretly. Well, I stayed for a while in Nang Xiang. His face was full of astonishment. I really didn't expect that the girl who was always gloomy and timid had evolved to this point. How dare you secretly photograph him? This is simply audacious. Unexpectedly, Goto Kazuri, a girl with thick eyebrows and big eyes, who looks like an honest girl, would dare to do such a thing? His fingers moved slightly, and he was about to continue looking down. Short footsteps suddenly came from outside. At the same time was the voice of Ichisato Goto, who was panting. Ayashi! I am back. I just bought your favorite snacks from outside, come. The voice was strangely drawn out at this moment. At the same time, Goto Kazuri looked at the object in Nango's hand in disbelief. Snap! The small snack held in his hand slipped and fell to the ground. Ichisato Goto knew. She is really done now. Chapter 313. When will you get married? 4,000 words. And I am very sorry. Toki-kun. He hurriedly picked up Goto Eri, who liked to rummage through his own things. Goto Kazuri, who knew that he had a big problem, hurried back, and with a snap, he expressed his apology to Nango Toki in front of him with an extremely skilled doge seat posture. Nangxiangshi. Looking at Goto Ichiri in front of him, Nangxiang put down the DV player in his hand speechlessly. After this period of tinkering, he basically watched every video. It looks like Goto Kazuri secretly hid the DVD player in the closet. But in fact, this guy simply has a thief heart but no courage. The DV player has obviously been hidden and the timer has been set. As a result, this guy later sneaked back because he was too guilty and took the DVD player back. There is absolutely nothing in the recorded video. Only the way she secretly put the DVD player into the corner of the closet and then took it back again. This can be said to be very Goto. 1 mile. Ah. Yes. Goto Ichiri, who had been peeking at Nangxiang from the corner of his eyes, panicked and responded hurriedly. There was only one feeling she had now. That's regret. I really regret it. The main reason is that I regret that I suddenly had evil thoughts and took the DV player to Nangxiang's room. This turned out to be better. Not only did he not catch anything, but he might even be treated as a voyeur by Nangxiangshi. And after all, since Nangxiangshi would discover it, why didn't he just start recording it at that time? Anyway, they were all discovered in the end, and the results were the same. It's better to satisfy your craving through the video recorded on the DV machine. Just as Goto Ichiri was thinking this, Nangxiangshi on the side suddenly spoke quietly. Ili, are you thinking that since they were discovered in the end, you might as well record a video and take a look? Hey, that. Goto Ichiri's expression paused. She was not a fool, how could she admit this to Nangxiangshi? But the next second. Ili, I like girls who tell the truth. Nangxiang suddenly approached. Yeah. Unable to resist Nangxiangshi's sudden temptation, Goto Ichisato answered in a low voice. But soon she realized that she had said the wrong thing, so she hurriedly covered her mouth and shook her head vigorously. Could it be that I am a fool? He knew clearly that it was the bait that Nangxiang in front of him had set for him, so why did he still willingly bite it? She kept reflecting in her mind. At the same time, he secretly observed Nangxiang's expression. Fortunately, Nangxiang actually had no intention of blaming Goto Ichiri at all. After all, it was just a candid photo. Based on his relationship with Miss Goto. Forget about taking secret photos. Even if it was an above-board shoot, he wouldn't have the slightest objection. Not to mention that Miss Goto, the unlucky guy, has not succeeded in secretly filming. This leaves no reason to blame her. But, although I didn't mean to blame her, there were some things I still had to ask Nangxiang. Ili, who gave you this? Nangxiang pulled Goto Ichiri to his side. While stroking the girl's long pink hair like a cat, he pointed at the DV player he placed beside the small round table. He didn't believe that Goto Kazuri had the ability to buy this thing. He just used his mobile phone to search on the internet. The starting price of this DV player on the internet is 250,000 yen. Goto Kazuri, whose family conditions were considered to be above average at best, simply did not have the financial strength to purchase such luxury goods. Someone must have bought this thing and given it to Goto Kazuri. Moreover, with Goto Kazuri's sneaky and timid character, it would be impossible for him to even think of secretly filming him. There must be someone behind her back. Well. Listening to Nangxiangshi's words, Goto Ichiri hurriedly covered his mouth, not daring to answer. Nangxiangshi was also happy to see her acting like this. It seems like you want to protect the other person, but unfortunately, I can probably guess who it is. Nangxiangshi blinked. Judging from your reaction, this should be something Ryo gave you, right? My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 469. Woo. Because he covered his mouth, Goto Ichiri could only widen his beautiful pink eyes and let out a whimpering sound. But I just saw her anxious expression. Nang Xiangxi actually understood that he must have guessed correctly. In fact, this is how it should be. Ryo Yamada has always liked buying all kinds of luxury goods. And with the character of this girl with short dark blue hair, it's not surprising at all that she encouraged the honest Goto Kazuri to take secret photos of Nang Xiangxi. I don't know what tricks the cunning Miss Yamada used. How could she let Goto Ichiri keep her secret so honestly? Thinking about this, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but curiously asked. Speaking of which, Ili, what did Liang say to you? You actually protected her like this. Well. Goto Ichiri still didn't intend to speak. Cover your mouth tightly. Nan Xiangxi looked at her like this and felt a little funny in his heart, but on the surface he still pretended to be angry. Ili, I will be really angry if you do this again. Well. Goto Ichiri still covered his mouth. I'm counting to 3. Well. 1. Goto Ichiri didn't respond. 2. Goto Ichiri's eyes secretly turned around. 3. Stop counting. Ashi. It's not enough if I tell you. When the Nangxiang hour reached 3, the pink-haired girl finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Goto Ichiri removed the palm covering his mouth and looked at him aggrievedly. To be honest. In fact, Goto Kazuri knew that Nangxiang would not really lose his temper with her. You know. Whether you are willing to wait until Nango to actually count to 3, it all depends on Goto Kazuri's thoughts. After all, no matter in those illusory dreams. Still in today's real world. In fact, she couldn't even refuse Nang Xiangxi's request. Nang Xiangxi knew this clearly, but he still used this method to bully her. My boyfriend is indeed very mean-spirited. She was helpless. And recalled Yamada Ryo secretly forming a clique and whispering to her. Goto Kazuri, who was already very shy, blushed even more. But there is no way. After all, she promised Nan Xiang that she would tell him the whole thing. In desperation, Goto Kazuri could only stammer about the whole process of her deal with Yamada Ryo. In fact, it was nothing more than Ryo Yamada having a bad idea after buying a DV player. I want to secretly record my life in Nangxiang for daily appreciation. But because of her words and deeds all the time, it was impossible to hide this thing under Nang Xiangxi's nose. So she thought of Goto Kazuri, and promised him a huge profit and will give him 2 pieces of Nango's undergarments as a reward after the event is completed. There is such a huge profit, and Goto Kazuri actually wants to see it. So the two hit it off and became the duo Wolong and Phoenix. When he said, Liangsang will give me 1 or 2 pieces of Ashi's underwear as reward, Goto Ichiri's fair face turned red. No wonder she was embarrassed to confess the whole thing. For her to say such an embarrassing thing, for Goto Kazuri, it was simply an unspeakable punishment game. And these words also made Nangxiang a little confused. No wonder. No wonder he always loses 1 or 2 pieces of clothes after washing them and drying them. It turned out that Miss Yamada was secretly acting as a monster behind the scenes. The key is that Miss Yamada is secretly acting like a monster. Now he actually knew how to form a clique and took Goto with him. Nan Xiangxi shook his head in amusement and looked at Goto Izato. Is that all there is? Irie. Ah, well, that's all. Goto Ichisato hesitated for a moment and nodded. She was already very easily shy in society and was not bold enough to do anything more extreme. Then he seemed to notice Nangxiang's unconcerned expression. She spoke carefully. Well, Ashi, aren't you angry? What's there to be angry about? Nangxiangxi laughed instead. It's just a video, it's nothing at all. The relationship between Toichiro, Yamada Ryo, and him in the future. It's just a video, it doesn't hurt at all. Not to mention, Ely and I have already seen everything we should see. It's just a video, it's not a big problem at all. Nang Xiangxi teased Goto Ichiri's ear. It wasn't until the girl's fair earlobes were stained with blush that he let go of her with satisfaction. Yes. Forget about the video. He and Goto had been honest with each other countless times. As of now, such a trivial matter will not cause any turmoil in my heart. Nang Xiangxi was very thick-skinned. But Goto Kazuri was different. Just listen to the other party's half-ridiculous honesty. The girl could already feel the hot temperature coming from her face. She blushed like an octopus just out of the steamer. Nang Xiangtoki also teased her at the right time. How about it? Miss Goto, instead of cooperating with Miss Yamada, why not consider cooperating with me? No matter how many clothes Miss Yamada gives you, I can double them for you. Well. Goto Ichiri stood up in a hurry, lay down beside the quilt, and covered his face with the quilt. At this moment, she knew clearly that Nan Xiang was deliberately teasing her, but she had completely lost the courage to speak on her own initiative. But Nang Xiangxi was not ready to let her go. Although I don't care if Goto Kazuri reaches a cooperation with Miss Yamada. But this extremely shy sociophobic girl really wanted to secretly film him without his consent. In this regard, Nang Xiangxi will of course have to be punished a little. He laughed, stood up without hesitation, and then approached the edge of the bed, grabbing Goto Ichiri's hand that was covering his face with the quilt. Ely, you. He was about to continue teasing. Wow. The Japanese-style sliding door was opened directly. Before seeing anyone, Nango Toki and Goto Ichiri heard Goto Mikiyo's energetic voice. Ah, lunch is almost ready. Nang Xiang-kun, there is still 1 mile left, you two can almost come down to eat. At the end of the sound, there was a strange elongation. Because she saw it? Goto Ichiri lay on the bed with his face flushed. The pink sportswear that was originally neatly dressed was now a bit messy. The fair belly button was exposed due to her excessive movements. Nang Xiangxi's actions were even more eye-catching. He directly grabbed Goto Izato's fair wrist. The body still looks like it wants to get closer. Quiet. The originally noisy air. It became quiet at this moment. Michio Goto glanced at Nango Toki first. Then he glanced at Goto Ichisato again. Then. A smile appeared on her gentle face. Did mom disturb you? Otherwise, you, continue. Finish the sentence. She closed the door with a smile. Then, Nango Toki and Goto Ichiri in the room heard the excited shouts of Michio Goto. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi Iway. Chapter 470. Naoki. Naoki. Come on, come on. Throw away the fried chicken. We are going to eat oysters and chive rice this afternoon. What should I do? Am I going to be a mother-in-law at such a young age? Nang Xiangxi. Goto Kazuri. The two people couldn't help but look at each other. Under such action, they all saw the emotions in each other's eyes. It's over. What the hell? Sitting at the dining table, Michio Goto listened to the explanations given by Nango Toki and Ichiri Goto, and complained dissatisfiedly. So it was just a joke. I thought Nang Xiangkun and Ely finally. Mother. This mom cry was full of energy. It also shows how ashamed and angry Goto Ichiri is now. You must know that she always speaks softly when she talks. But it's not okay not to speak at this time. God knows what shocking words my overly lively mother will say. Humph. Michio Goto was not angry either. She just bit her chopsticks and looked at Ichiri Goto with a gentle smile unique to her mother. This expression made Goto Ichiri a little unable to stand up straight. The courage to shout just now also became timid at this moment. Early is still here. She tried to argue quietly. That's true. As the person at the top of the Goto family's food chain, Michio Goto smiled and nodded. It was really hard to talk about this when Eri was here. Let's let it go this time. Call. After receiving such a promise from Michio Goto, Ichiri Goto breathed a sigh of relief. However, she didn't feel completely relieved yet. Speaking of which, Nangxiang-kun, when do you plan to marry Ili? Target reversal. Words spoken. In an instant, Goto Ichiri, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, fell into a state of confusion. She just thought of something at this moment. Michio Goto did say that she would let her go. But he never said that he would let go of Nan Xiangxi, who was also sitting next to him eating. Chapter 314. Are you still called aunt? 4,500 words. Married to Nangxiangxi. This is definitely Goto Kazuri's second biggest dream besides his rock debut. She had long imagined in her dream that she would put on a wedding dress, get married to Nangxiangxi, be held by the princess of Nangxiangxi, and then give birth to a child with her. But these are things that only she dares to imagine when she is dreaming. Even in her dreams, she didn't dare to be too presumptuous, and she only dared to have some relatively reserved dreams. This is still the case in dreams, let alone reality. At this time, my mother actually said in front of Nangxiangxi, Nangxiang-kun, when do you plan to marry Ili? These words sounded like the explosion of a nuclear bomb and the end of the world to Goto Kazuri's ears. Her head was confused for a moment, and then she turned stiffly to look at her mother like a robot that was leaking electricity. Then, the stuttering, almost trembling voice that was about to cry was also released. Mom, are you kidding, really? Why do you always like to make jokes like this? As she spoke, she looked at Nangxiang with an expression that looked like she was about to cry. I'm so sorry. Mom likes to joke a lot lately, you shouldn't accompany her to fool around. Her words paused, and she hadn't finished speaking yet. Nangxiangxi on the other side took over the conversation and answered with a smile. I think it would be too hasty to get married now. Ili is only a sophomore in high school. His attitude is gentle, neither humble nor arrogant, and his words are reasonable and convincing. And this answer also made Goto Ichiri couldn't help but show a relaxed expression. Still, not bad. Ashi didn't play around with his mother. As expected of Ashi. At this time, he has mature considerations. She thought so and gave Nangxiangxi an approving look. As expected of the person she has always liked. It's not in vain that she has been. But although we can't get married directly at this stage, I think we can definitely get engaged to Ili. Well. This startled voice was enough to show Goto Kazuri's current mood. Her eyes widened. Due to excessive shock, she lost the ability to speak for a while, and could only watch her mother interact with Nangxiang with a smile. So Nangxiang-kun wants to get engaged to Ili. Goto Michio blinked. Of course, Aunt Michio. Faced with this question that would make boys of the same age look embarrassed and not know how to answer, Nangxiangxi also responded with a smile and answered in a steady voice. Why do you still call me aunt at this time? Michio Goto held her smooth chin with her palm and asked with a smile. Etc. Goto Ichiri blushed and tried to stop his mother. I'm sorry, Michio's mother. Before I could speak, Goto Ichiri was directly struck by Nango Toki's words. With her face flushed, she wanted to get involved in the exchange between Nango and Michio Goto. No matter how hard she tried. They were completely unable to interrupt the communication between her mother and Nangxiangxi. She just watched helplessly as Nangxiangxi and her mother gradually negotiated the date of their engagement from the beginning to the wedding date. Then after getting married, we discussed having children. Then it starts from giving birth to what the child should be named, how the baby's room should be arranged in the future, and finally even topics such as which university the child will go to and what major he will study. During this period, Naoki Goto and even Yuri Goto were involved. Wait. Goto's face turned red by his mother's overly out-of-touch exchange with Nangxiang, and Goto Kazuri finally couldn't hold it in any longer. She used all her courage, stood up directly, and loudly stopped the two of them. Even because of her loud voice, the originally noisy living room became extremely quiet at this moment. Everyone who was talking just now stopped. All eyes also turned to Goto Kazuri. Well, watched by these eyes, Goto, who had used all his courage, opened his mouth. The voice she originally imagined shouting at everyone gradually became weaker. That, because it's my matter, so, I think, I should also have that right to participate in the discussion. What? I'm so sorry. I didn't say anything. Please continue the discussion. The confident courage just now was reflected in his mother's words. What? Fell apart under the question. Goto Kazuri bowed decisively and apologized. And looking at this scene, Nangxiang next to him couldn't help laughing at this moment. Ili, can't you see it yet? Aunt Mikiyo is actually joking with me. Why? The pink-haired girl's blue eyes were transfixed. Hey, what? Nangxiang looked amused. You are only in your second year of high school. How could Aunt Mishide arrange a marriage for you in such a hurry? Well. There was another sound of surprise. Goto Ichisato glanced at Nangxiang subconsciously. Then he subconsciously looked at his mother. When he found that his mother was staring at him with a smile just like when she was in Nangxiang, the weak pink-haired girl finally couldn't hold it in any longer. Mother. This time Mom. It was definitely the loudest cry that Mikiyo Goto had ever heard since her daughter was born. In fact, even if Goto couldn't hold back and shouted Mom, it would not help. Because at most she dared to complain to her mother in a low voice, and then lowered her head under Nangxiang's gaze, not daring to say anything more. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 471. The word coward is vividly reflected in the girl. Certainly. The silence of the socially fearful girl cannot change the lively atmosphere at the dinner table. For Mikiyo Goto, who dared to wear a high school girl's uniform and recommend endband to others when she was in her 30s. Her presence can definitely push the topic forward. And this advancement naturally led to the question of Nangxiang's winter vacation plans. Hey? Nangxiang-kun, are you going back to Akita during the winter vacation? Goto Michio glanced at Nangoshi with some surprise. Pretty much. After all, I've been in Tokyo for more than half a year. I didn't go home this summer because I had to adapt to studying in Tokyo. Nangxiang nodded, confirming what Mikiyo Goto said. The two people's conversation was not loud. It was enough to be heard by Ichiri Goto, who was silently biting fried chicken pieces on the other side. She is going back to Akita County? He hurriedly bit into the fried chicken pieces. He drank another sip of water recklessly. Goto Ichiri's pretty face looked at Nangxiang, who was still communicating with his mother on the other side, in surprise. No wonder she showed such an expression. Just because the news was too sudden for her. Oka High School's winter vacation lasts for 15 days. Originally, she wanted to take advantage of these 15 days to summon up the courage to go on a date with Nangxiang to enhance their relationship. She even had her eye on the date, and was just waiting for Xiang Nangxiang to invite her. In the end, let alone inviting Nangxiang. In a few days, Nango won't even be in Tokyo anymore. How could this not surprise her? Her mouth moved. At this time, I really want to save Nang Xiangxi. But the words came to his lips. She didn't know how to speak. Through some fragments of dreams, she actually knew very well that Nang Xiang had a very good relationship with her family. But due to the constant pressure from study, he had no time to go home. Finally, I have time this winter vacation. How could she be so selfish and let Nang Xiangxi stay with her? Godu lowered his eyes in disappointment. She is kind-hearted by nature and does not want to deprive Nang Xiang of the time to see her family. So, no matter how much you want to implement your long-awaited date plan. But in the end she could only watch Nang Xiangxi leave Tokyo. Mikiyo Godu, who was still communicating with Nango, raised her slender eyebrows slightly. She seemed to notice something and glanced at her eldest daughter thoughtfully. Then, "Oh, it's really good. Nango-kun, I heard that the air in Akita Prefecture is very bad. It's not as polluted as here in Tokyo." As she approached Nang Xiang with a smile, she said, "I heard you can even see stars over there at night. It's not as good as you said." Nang Xiangxi smiled and waved his hands, "But you can indeed see the stars at night. Akita Prefecture is naturally not as developed as the Tokyo Economic Circle. This is precisely because the economic circle in Tokyo is not as developed. So as long as it doesn't snow or rain at night, you can see the majestic starry sky flowing slowly under the night cover. That's great." Mikiyo Godu clasped her hands together with a smile, her mature and beautiful face full of yearning. "If possible, I would also like to go to Akita County to see the stars." The words are not finished yet. There was another loud ouch from her side. "But it's a pity. I still have various things to deal with here in Tokyo, so I probably won't be able to enjoy the starry sky." She looked full of regret, as if she was sighing that she couldn't go over to enjoy the beautiful scenery. But very quickly, this overly lively middle-aged woman then spoke with a smile. "Since I can't go there with Nang Xiang-kun to enjoy the starry sky, why not let Ili go by and treat it as a trip to relax?" "Why?" Goto Ichisato, who had his head lowered just now, using his long pink bangs to cover his expression, instantly raised his eyes. He just met his mother's gentle, slightly concerned eyes. "What's wrong?" Seeing that she had cheered up, Goto Mikiyo asked with a smile, "Don't you want Ichisato to go to Akita County with Nango-kun?" "I..." Goto Ichisakura's pink lips parted slightly. A moment. She paused because of her sociophobia. But this only paused for a moment. The next moment she raised her head. Of course I am willing. I went through so many storms with Nang Xiang, and I also trained myself for so long before finishing the band performance." This time, she finally didn't escape. Instead, he expressed his thoughts clearly in his own words. "Only. She, what do you think?" Goto Ichiri looked at Nang Xiangxi with some embarrassment. As an outsider, she made a rash visit to Nang Xiang's house. Isn't this a bit inappropriate? Maybe Nang Xiangxi will also feel embarrassed, right? She asked quietly. The previously lively Goto Mikiyo stopped answering the conversation at this time. He just looked at Nang Xiang with a smile. "Of course, there won't be any trouble at all." There was no sign of hesitation. It was only when Goto Ichiri turned her timid eyes. "I had already agreed when I was in Nang Xiang. Goto Kazuri has already raised his courage. Then he should respond to the other party as a matter of course." Nang Xiang looked at Goto Kazuri with a smile on his face. Goto Kazuri seemed to be aware of Nang Xiangxi's mood. The original tension relaxed. That pretty face also showed a gorgeous smile. Under the dining table, Nang Xiang touched her palm lightly. Then they held each other tightly. The time spent eating at Goto's house was actually not very long. About an hour later, Nang Xiang ended the meal and played games with Goto Yuri at her request. It was a two-player cooperative type game. Due to Nangoji's superb gaming skills, he was able to easily make up for Goto Yuri's various operational mistakes. In addition, he has a special affinity for children. Just a few rounds down. This caused Goto Yuri to burst into laughter. Later, Goto Yuri was not even willing to let Nang Xiangxi leave, and solemnly said that he would make Nang Xiangxi hers in the future. Nang Xiangxi was amused by this childlike appearance. I just kept relaxing and playing around at Goto's house for a while. When I arrived in Nangxiang, I looked up to check the time again. It was already past 8 o'clock at night. The originally bright white sky has now been replaced by thick night. Actually, it doesn't matter if you stay at our house. When looking at Nango, who was walking to the door, Goto Mikiyo pouted. He was obviously a lot older, but at this moment he acted like a child who was unhappy. But she's still so cute. Nangxiang-kun, there is no need to go back so early. I've been bothering you for a long time today, and I have to go back to confirm my future itinerary. I'm really sorry to bother you anymore. Nang Xiangxi smiled apologetically and replied like this. If that's the case, there's nothing we can do about it. After listening to Nango Toki's words, Goto Mikiyo sighed slightly, knowing that there was no way for him to stay overnight. Then, she turned to look at her eldest daughter, who was lowering her head and trembling slightly. As the mother of Ichiri Goto. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 472. Of course she understood what her eldest daughter was doing at this time. She is laughing. And he's still snickering. It was probably confirmed that I can go to Akita Prefecture with Nango Toki, so I have been snickering since dinner. This left Michio Goto speechless. As someone who has been through this, she naturally understands. If you want to completely tether a boy's heart, just being passive is completely useless. So, start by taking a step back. Then reach out. Pushing his eldest daughter, who was still giggling, from the crowd. Michio Goto coughed dryly and gave her final assist. Ili, didn't you say before that you happened to be going to the station? It just so happens that you can also see Nanxiang-jun off smoothly, right? Hey? I'm not going to the station. Okay, okay. Go, go, go. He almost pushed his eldest daughter, who was naive and wanted to argue, and sent her to Nangxiangxi's side. Then after saying hello to Nangxiang, Mikiyo Goto, who was standing at the door, watched her and Nangxiang leave. Really? She sighed helplessly. My daughter actually has very good hardware conditions. It's just that his personality is a bit too honest. She is really worried. Such an outstanding boy as Nangxiangxi. There must be many outstanding girls of the same age around me. So let's look at it from the other side. How can my socially shy daughter break out of the siege? You can't rely on your daughter's physical development to be more perfect than that of an ordinary high school student, right? After her observation for this period of time, I feel like Nangxiangxi is not someone who pays much attention to hardware conditions. Well, Michio Goto sighed lightly. For his eldest daughter's love story, she could only say one sentence. Sad, sad. Chapter 315. He caught the star 3000 words. Residential streets in Tokyo at night. It was so lonely that only the street lights on both sides shone coldly. Nango Toki and Goto Kazuri stepped forward side by side. The pace in Nangxiang is a little bigger, but the pace is a little slower. Goto Ichiri's steps are smaller, but his steps are faster. What to do? What should I do next? While secretly glancing at Nango beside him, Goto Kazuri couldn't help but think. Yes. What to do? Although I can enjoy this alone time with Nangxiangxi. But after all, it was his mother who drove him to the shelves. Goto Ichiri didn't know what to say to Nangxiang at this moment. But I have to say it here. Godu Kazuri took a deep breath. We have known each other for such a long time in Nangxiang. She actually knew it clearly. Whether walking on the road, in school, or in the Stars Performance Hall, Nangxiang she was always accommodating her. It was also in Nangxiang that I was always looking for topics to communicate with her. I have been communicating with the other party for so long. Great progress has been made. Come on. Ichisato Goto. You can do it for sure. All you need to do is bring up a topic casually, and Ashi will easily cooperate with you to continue the conversation. Just like what Ashi usually does. You should also calm down at this time. Repeatedly emphasized in the mind. Repeated thinking. Then, she took a deep breath and raised her face slightly, which was hidden under her two long bangs. Speak of, Ashi. The sudden sound made the black-haired young man beside him turn his eyes subconsciously. Goto Ichisato let out a little breath and mustered up the courage to make a mocking and blaming look. The joke you made with your mother today was really bad, about getting engaged. Her voice was extremely smooth at this time. Ashi, you are serious. You were obviously joking with my mother, but you didn't remind me and deliberately teased me. Her pink lips were slightly pursed, looking a little dissatisfied. But at this time, she was actually happy. That's right. That's what it feels like. This kind of communication between friends, like ordinary joking, is what I have always dreamed of. I'm not joking. Why? The sudden sound from Nangxiang she made Ichiri Goto's eyes widen slightly. All the thoughts in my mind just now were disrupted by Nangxiang she at this moment. She looked at the black-haired young man in front of her in disbelief. But soon, Goto seemed to understand something again. She blinked, trying to cover up her panic with a steady voice. Ashi, you are teasing me again, right? Let me tell you, I won't be fooled this time. That's right. He just liked to tease her when he was in Nangxiang. This time maybe it was Nangxiang she who was secretly causing trouble again, just waiting for her to take the bait. But this time she won't be so stupid. It's impossible to fall for it stupidly again. She thought this way and acted as if she would never be fooled. However, who's kidding you? Nangxiang she couldn't help but cast a sidelong glance at Goto Ichiri. This pink-haired girl is always not smart when she should be. He's so smart that he doesn't look smart when he shouldn't be. Perhaps Aunt Mikiyo had the intention of joking at that time, but I never said I was joking from beginning to end. Nangxiang she shook his head and answered. And his words also reminded Goto Kazuri of what he said in Nangxiang before. Ili, can't you see it yet? Aunt Mikiyo was actually joking with me. There was indeed no joking element in this sentence. Ashi, you. After learning Nangxiang's thoughts, Goto Ichiri instantly felt his face getting hot. She couldn't help but take 2 steps back. But the more she retreated, Nangxiang she on the other side moved forward without hesitation, and at the same time sighed. To be honest, I thought I could advance the progress to the point of getting engaged to Ili at once. Engagement. The voice of astonishment lengthened. Hearing this word, Goto Ichiri couldn't hold back at all, and his whole expression began to become confused. Got engaged? Her. When she was with Nangxiang? Really? The girl looked like she was going to smile in the next second, but only half of the smile was shown, and the other side was occupied by the emotion of surprise, causing her entire facial expression to be a little confused. Nangxiang she. Nangxiang glanced at Miss Goto speechlessly. This is just a mention of engagement. You must know that Jin Mukenshu has signed a marriage contract with him. But in terms of reaction, it was not even half as exaggerated as Goto in front of him. The other party's expression immediately began to break down.